The acquisition of parallels. So much pain last night I wasn't sure if I'd be here today. Part of this was from ingesting fake meat. Those are highly processed compositions of mainly oils and soy. Not food, I knew this but had run out of other preparations and didn't want to take the time to cook lentils, so of course, I poisoned myself with low-quality food. Yay! Tempeh seems to be the only soy food that is non-toxic, for the most part, at least for now. And if you didn't know, it's true the fermented foods and liquids like kombucha create the aldehyde byproducts which are toxic to the liver. Probiotics are helpful, but I was informed that most of the kind the public receives are not the originals and that each person's second brain, which is in the gut, is custom fitted to their mother's unique probiotic formula. The second brain is in the gut where there are more neuronal connections and communications taking place between the heart, the gut and the brain than the brain itself. As well, there is one of the major, if not the major center of the immune system located in the gut where the digestive process and the proliferation of the good bacteria will stabilize the entire line of defense of the body. From white blood cells to specific enzymes produced for memorizing which substances have what effect. This area is highly sensitive and very important for the overall health of the body. I love everyone I've had the opportunity to work with and, in my humble opinion, the system is virtually perfect and will always bring about the results that one deserves. Whether we are willing to face this at this point is not a matter of our clearance but a willingness to accept self-responsibility and refuse to project blame and self-loathing onto others just to pass the buck for one more round. There is so much that can be done with the effort that is required or skipped to project blame and suffering on to someone else that anyone who participates in that, in this age, is 100% signing a contract for their own demise and the demise of their civilization, which is a very dangerous and unacceptable choice. Again, in the age where one person can utilize the power to generate as much change and view as much information in 1 hour that an entire village would have had access to hundreds of years ago over the course of a decade or more, every single choice every single observer makes is the most important choice of all of our lives. Now, for the reason of this post, I'm going to try to ensure one simple yet reasonably presented concept per communication. Here's the idea. The way we view time is a projected inversion from the actuality of what is. Because time cannot be accessed all at once from a conscious perspective within the body that is limited or anchored to a specific time-space location, what we view is, instead, a sliced-down projected version that gives a kind of microscopically magnified projection rather than an upfront and direct actual view. This is the only way it's possible, while in a body, because the information inherently too vast and unbounded to enable comprehension through waking consciousness. The eye of the conscious mind cannot comprehend the totality of existence while still using itself as a reference, from within that view, to enable that view. It's pretty self-explanatory in that there is an inherent paradox in trying to view the entirety of something you are a part of, while still being a part of it. Thus, we get this kind of mirrored reflected projected view so that we can see pretty much what we need to, while still interacting and going along with it. This becomes a kind of dream-like show where the view we are seeing is filtered, almost as if behind a 20-second relay like in TV production. The notion to grasp here is that instead of blocking out a potential swear or unsavory expression, the filtration system is blocking out that which exists beyond the limitations of one's own conscious ability to comprehend reality. In other words, the filter is ensuring that the entire scope of reality beyond what you have been conditioned to accept as normal doesn't make its way onto the stage. To put it simply, the truth of that which is too shocking or beyond the norm is filtered by the conscious mind as the brain designs a quaint little projected squared image to keep the show running for the most generic of audiences. This is the basis for the collectively shared reality and the mundane world that consists of PC, projected collectively, notions and constructs that enables the previous system or the status quo to keep doing what it's doing. Thus, it's not only like a projected, microscopically rendered view based on conditioned beliefs and consensus norms. It's like a freight train that keeps going and wants to keep going with you as the conductor just because that's what's been happening for thousands of years or the length of your waking life. So what does this mean? This means that when searching for the original or wider scope of reality, we can either generate enough signals with the track itself or maybe a central conductor system so that the tracks switch and the rails join with a larger continuum again, or we can jump off the tracks entirely and safely meet back on an entirely new projected track which no longer automatically filters out the majority of the important information. So to keep this short and simple, if that's a possibility, when one manually takes the time to refine their awareness and reorganize perception to possibly do away with unnecessary perceptual illusions, this is like going within and doing the necessary internal work to overcome trauma or habitual mental distortions or loss of self-control. The other method is to theorize, realize, imagine and literally mentally grasp that there is another track out there that relates to the world that we know is real but is adjacent or parallel to the track or worldview we are currently on. This second process is the notion that I am presenting, or attempting to, here. The idea is that if enough people gather their intentions and their imagination and project onto reality the orientation for a track, or worldview, that leads directly to an entirely new city, then it is possible to use these powers of intent and imagination to reach that new city. That idea is this: it is possible to create the new city, literally by first imagining the track that one would use to take themselves there. I'm probably not doing a well enough job of explaining this, but the concept is that the future you, an entire civilization, an entire time and scope of reality exists in a potential state with everything that you could desire, with balance and harmony, of course. To make this as simple as possible, this is the explanation. A team can be organized. That team can use advanced technology to enhance the brainwave emissions and generate an electrogravitic distortion field around the immediate proximity. This team can project with intent and imagination an immediately future situation where they have gained access to a new reality or worldview stream which contains information and assistance from those within that civilization willing to assist in the liberation of the group. If properly mapped and applied, this energetic act can literally open up a kind of energetic gateway to a civilization that has, from their own point of view, always existed. From our point of view, a connection will be made with a future possible civilization of the current reality in which everything that we are looking for in terms of assistance, liberation, kindness, compassion, truth, knowledge, will exist and will be present in a very real way to assist in the furthering of our own civilization. The idea here is that everything that could exist already exists. Everything you can imagine already exists. The only action that is ever initiated is the formation of the connection between realities to introduce the possibility of interaction between them. The requirement for interaction is of the mind. It is a mental organization, orientation and synchronization of intention between them. This very energetic act opens up a bridge between here and there, and this is a method of communication. A potentially easier to understand concept is as follows. Everything that you are about to experience, the basis for those experiences in life, has been faced by your ancestors or elders. They are the blueprint for you, which you are adding to. If you desire and are in a position to do so, you can ask your elders about situations you may face regarding biology, society, philosophy, and so on. Not everything will be exact, but there is a previous blueprint that has already experienced the majority of the life experiences you will be faced by. That is the concept. There is always a sister and a parent civilization. That is how life and reality works. There is always a tether, and this tether is not by coincidence, but due to the nature of time as a biological illusion that is only generated for those in the temporal entrainment field. Everyone else, or someone who can navigate the hyperspatial network of the minds connecting all realities, can move beyond the scope of time that we are physically limited to. The body is limited but the mind is not. In philosophical, and even mathematical and quantum terms, this civilization is immediately brought into existence merely by the projected intent of those in the present to correspond with and organize their own reality streams in respect to that future potential civilization. In the same terms, the civilization is simultaneously, always already in existence, and we are merely bridging a consciousness gap between the two. As well, simultaneously, both civilizations are simply a reflection of one another and are trading off imagination and intent in a kind of seesaw of sister civilization X of tandem creation and connection. The idea is that this works for anything. If you merely set up the premise, the foundation for something in the future that would otherwise require millions of years to come into existence, that already all exists. All you're doing is building a bridge to that pre-existing civilization, or reality, and then interacting with that reality stream. The idea is that everything you can imagine already exists, all of it. All you are to do is make the connection to that which you seek to experience, and with enough intent and application of advanced knowledge you will simultaneously build a link to that reality, while that reality simultaneously builds a link to this one. It's all the same. It's all reflexive consciousness, reality co-creation mirrors and dream-like extensions of experience. By forming the foundation you are simultaneously enabling what already exists to connect with you in this reality while also forming the possibility for the connected reality to come into existence, and this is through the generation of the third reality, which is created as soon as the two become bridged together as one larger one. This is exactly what happened in the underground bases. Lots of what is out there is programming to scare the crap out of people, but that's also because that's part of what is out there. Anything you can imagine. So you must be courageous and self-responsible. However, what happens is kind of like this in simple terms. We realize the nature of the universe to fill in the blanks like this. Literally just like seeing three dots and your brain draws in imaginary lines to make a triangle. Instead, the universe does this with entire civilizations and timelines. So this property is realized, and then we say, okay, we'll set up the conscious parameters for, say, a more advanced civilization, say, a sister civilization that helped initiate our civilization and is responsible for many artifacts and events that are currently unexplained to us. Then we will sit and say, assign a designated area over here on the floor that will act as a safe zone where both civilizations can communicate. Then we will enhance the permeability of this environment to enable communication from all kinds of radio signals or methods of advanced communication. Then we will say, okay, at 10 p.m., that is the designated time, and we have always been preparing for that, and this was part of the plan all along, just because we just invented that. Everything is set up and put into place, bam, we get a message from a future civilization that apparently has been waiting for us to figure how to communicate in this method. Now, the tricky part. Imagine. There's also a spooky, boogeyman type reality or false messenger who just wants to trick people. Well, yes, if you can imagine that, then that exists as well. So everything must be secured and no one is to believe or interact with anything in any way that could compromise one's mind or the safety of either civilization. Tricky, yes, but so are your dreams. Then we realize, certain artifacts seem to be appearing out of nowhere in time, certain events in history, certain people and places. Other groups have begun the same process, and things are opening up to the point where all the possible realities will begin to occur simultaneously until only those that are capable of still existing while all others begin to exist simultaneously, will still exist. Meaning, when more and more appear, this will destabilize and begin to knock out others that are, say, overlapping in possibility because they are not as accurate, or aka, bsing and stealing energy. Well, just imagine, okay, everyone gets together, now we imagine that there is some civilization out there, they're very young, they want the truth and help, and so we will appear to them and steal all their stuff and their women. Yes, if you can imagine it, that is possible, So there are groups that are out of temporal resonance who are attempting to do that, and some say they are from here originally and are just playing a merry-go-round of lost time. Regardless, that means that many will appear and then appear to be proven false. Only those who continue to exist throughout all of this will actually be true, and all of this is dependent on the belief of the public, meaning this is a highly volatile and dangerous situation. In short, this is how our civilization began in the first place, as the dream of another original.